Hello, can you guys hear me? Hello? Hello, can you guys hear me? Anybody?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, cool. Yeah, so I'll wait for like another minute just so more people can join. So yeah. All right. We'll just start now. So hi everybody. So welcome back to class number 3. If you guys are new, I'm Sanjib Sharma, and I'll be your instructor for the next 6 weeks or 5 weeks. So yeah. So before we start, I just want to share one thing and give you guys an update. So let me share my screen real quick. Share. All right. So, all right, yeah. So what I wanted to share is that I actually created a GitHub over here. So it basically just contains all the class files and all the homework solutions throughout this class. So let me show you an example. So let's take class 1. So over here, if you click on class1.java, it'll show the file that I used to teach you guys the content for that class. So it's kind of just for your reference. So it's a good thing to have. And for the homework solution, it'll be in like the class 1 homework files or the class whatever homework files. And over here, it'll give you the solution for the homework for that class or for that week. So yeah, I'll share the link with you right now. Yeah, I'll put it in the chat. So give me 1 sec. Okay, so where's the chat? Wait,
It doesn't show the chat for me.
yeah, I don't see it either. Oh,
I think it's been canceled.
that's interesting. Breakout rooms. Okay. Yeah, I have no idea what to do then.
Maybe you should try going to security.
Security. Where's that?
It's
Oh,
like at
okay.
the bottom, yeah. Like maybe it'll
Okay.
help.
No, it doesn't have anything for chat. Okay. Hmm. Okay, that's fine, I guess. That's weird. Okay. I'll just put the link on this doc then in that case. Shelter in place, coding and entrepreneurship. So I'll put it in the Java section. Give me 1 sec. So I'll put it right here. Or actually, no, I already put it in this file. So if you go in here where the homework is normally, I believe it's in that file. So yeah, right here. So it's already here. So just go into this file and you'll see it. So yeah, at the very top. And for if you guys have questions, I guess just unmute yourself since there's really no other option. So yeah, that's how you'll ask questions today, I guess. So yeah. All right, so let's start off with homework from last week. So let me go here. All right, so let me run it real quick. All right, so let me move this over. Alright. So the homework was to, or so the first thing you had to do is create a Boolean variable, right? So Boolean value is equal to true. So I said, and so I create a Boolean variable called value, and I set it to true. And so what you had to do is create a new variable called new value or whatever variable name, and set it to the opposite value of the first variable. So again, in order to do that, we use the exclamation point, which is representative of the not operator. So it just finds the opposite value of whatever other Boolean value. So in this case, it was Boolean value is equal to true, right? So not value is not true, which is false. So this print statement over here, you can see it printed out. This is the new value false, right? So the next thing was to create a character variable or char. So I said I create a variable called grade. Char grade is equal to a, and I created just a simple print statement saying I got an A on my test. It could have been anything, but this is what I put. And so see over here, it says I got an A on my test. So yeah. And the next thing was to create a string. So I created a string called str, and I initialized it to this long string. This is how you declare and initialize a string right here. And we had to create 3 variables. So the first one was length of string is sorry, dot length. So I did str dot length, and I had to initialize a variable to that value. So I said int length of string is equal to str dot length. And so I believe the length of this was what? It was 48. So right here, this is the length of the string. So remember what str.length does is it simply just finds the length of a string. It's pretty straightforward, including the spaces. So right here, it'll count one space as one part of the length. So in total, it's 48 as 48 characters, including spaces. Next variable I had to create was I created a variable called index and set it equal to str.index of and. So what it does is that it finds the numerical index of the string and or whatever goes inside the parentheses. So where's and? So and is right here. So I believe it's 24. So yeah, I printed out. This is the index of the word and 24. And remember, it doesn't find the index of every single character in and, but rather the first character, which is the A. So this A right here, that's the index of 24. And also remember, when it comes to indexes in Java, the first index is always 0. It's not 1. So it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and all the way to 24. And that's where the A is in N. So that's index of. And the last variable to create is a string that is substring. Yeah. So substring, again, it's kind of just finding a partial string within a string. So, and these numbers, what goes inside the substring function are the 2 indexes, or like basically the range. So in my case, it's 8 and 11. So I want to find whatever string is from index 8 to index 11. And remember, in substring, it's not inclusive for the last index. So in reality, it's actually from 8 to 10. So let me show you. So if we count right here, so this is the string 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 is on the letter H in how, and then 9, 10, 11. And 11 is this space right here. So again, it's not from 8 to 11. It's actually from 8 to 10 because it's not inclusive. So it will print out how without a space at the end. So yeah. Where did that go? Yeah, right here. This is a word from the original string, how. So yeah. And we'll review this again in like 2 minutes. All right, so let's start with the actual lesson. Any questions on for homework? All good? There's no chat. Okay, so I'll just continue. So create a new file called class3.java, public class 3, public. Now we'll create the main method, public static void main string, oops, arms. All right, so let's go over a quick review from what we did last class. Let's start off with camel casing. So again, camel casing is basically just used to create proper variable names, just for like your sake and for other people who want to review your code, or if you're reviewing somebody else's code. So camel casing again is like including a capitalized letter inside the variable name. Again, it doesn't matter what the variable name is, it could be anything. But for camel casing, it should be like a camel casing is used just to make like it's sort of like a relation between the variable name and what the variable name is assigned to. So let me show you an example. So let me show you an example from the homework that I just reviewed. Yeah, right here, length of string. You notice right here, there's a capitalized letter, length of string, and it shows a clear relationship because the variable is literally the length of the string. Same thing for partial string. It's pretty self-explanatory, so I'm not going to spend that much time. And the next thing I want to go over is reassigning variables. So let me assign a variable int num is equal to 8, and if I want to reassign, so reassigning variables. So again, num doesn't always have to equal 8 all the time. I could always change it. So I could do num is equal to 10. When reassigning variables, you don't want to include the data type again. So the data type was int, right? So you don't want to say int num is equal to 10 for a second time, because then you're declaring and assigning two variables, and that's an error. So make sure not to do that. And so if I print, if I print out system.out.println num, then it will print out 10 rather than 8. Yeah, right there. See, 10. And let me move this over. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's reassigning variables. You can do the same thing with the double. It doesn't have to be for int. I'm not gonna show you because it's like the same thing, except it's with a double or a float or a decimal number. And so now let's talk about incrementing and decrementing. So all the operators that we learned last time. So there was, what was it? It was plus equals, minus equals, times equals, divide by equals, and oh yeah, and also mod. Oops, mod. Yeah, so let's go over. So it's pretty easy. So let's use num again. And let's actually get rid of this. Yeah, so num is equal to 8. So let's do num plus equals to, actually let's put it in a system. Let's put it in a print statement, system.out.println num plus equals, actually hold on. So let's create a new variable, actually, new num. Int new num is equal to num plus equals to 3. So what this will print out, so if I print out new num, then what it should print out is 11, right? Because this is essentially equal, what this is saying is num, which is 8, is equal to num, which is equal to num plus 3. And num in this case is 8, so it's basically just saying 8 plus 3, which is 11. So what this should print out is 11. So let me show you. Java C class. Java class. Yeah, right here, 11. And same thing if I make it minus equals, then it will print out 5. Oh, then it'll print out 5 because it's just saying num is equal to num minus 3, which is 8 minus 3, which is 5. So if I run that, then there you go, 5. And same thing for times and divided by. It's the same concept. So I'm not really going to show it. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty easy. Just simple math. But let me talk about mod though. So for mod, again, what mod is it's or modulus. It's the remainder. So basically, what it does is that it divides two numbers and then finds the remainder. So let me create another variable int num2 is equal to 7. So let's say int mod or int new or just remainder is equal to num mod num2. Then system.out.println, this is the remainder. then remainder. So basically, again, what it does, so num in this case is 8, right? So num, so it first divides num and num2, so 8 divided by 7, which is, it's a number like 1 point something, right? And essentially just finds the remainder. So if I save this and then run it, there, the remainder is 5. So it's pretty easy. It just finds the remainder. So yeah. So that's mod. I'm gonna speed through this a little bit because we have a lot to learn today. So let me move on. So we learned about Boolean and char. So again, Boolean is either true or false. So I can make Boolean val is equal to, oops, Boolean val is equal to true, or I can make it false. But there's only two different things it could be, true or false. And then of course there's the not operator or the exclamation mark. So I do Boolean uval is equal to exclamation mark or not val. So this will be false because it's not true or false. So yeah. So if I print that out, val, then it will print out false. Right there, false. Yeah. And let's go over char real quick. Char ch is equal to let's just say b. So again, a few things to keep in mind. Char only single quotes. If you put in double quotes, then it will give out an error because double quotes are representative of a string. So keep that in mind. And also, there can only be one thing, only one character, and it doesn't matter what it is. It could be a letter, capitalized letter, a number, like a symbol, like a dollar sign. It doesn't matter, but it has to be one only. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about char. And yeah, so yeah, and if you print it out, it'll print out B, but I'm not going to show that because it's just a print statement. Yeah. All right, so now string functions. So let's create a new string. So string str is equal to hello, or actually yeah, actually, yeah, hello there. Right, and then there were three functions that we went over. There was dot length, dot index of, and dot substring. So let's go over length first. So int len is equal to str dot length. So what this would print out, what this is equal to is just the length of this. It's pretty easy. We went over this in homework as well. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it should print out 11. So that's equal to 11. And then there's also the index. So int len or int index is equal to str dot index of. Then in here, there's like a string. You put a string inside index of. Those are the parameters. Parameters are basically what goes inside of the parentheses when you're calling a function. So in this case, let's find the index of the O, which is right there. So I put an O. Then that should be equal to, because it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It should be 4. Remember, for indexes, I already mentioned this today, begins with the 0. It always starts off with index 0 instead of 1. So it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Not 5, but 4. Yeah. And then str dot substring. So let's create string partial is equal to str dot substring. Let's find the substring from, I don't know, something random from 2 to 4. So what this would be, so we look at both indexes. So let's look at this index 2, so 0, 1, 2, which is the L right here. And let's look at 4, 3, 4. And remember, it's non-inclusive, so it won't print L, it won't print LLO, but rather it'll print out just LL. Yeah, so again, to find like the actual, this is what I do. So for substring, it's whatever the first index is to the last index minus 1. So this is 2 to 3 in reality, even though you have to write it as 2 to 4. Because, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's just 2 and 3, which is L and L I don't know if that made it a little bit more confusing, but that's what I do. So yeah. And then let's just quickly print these out. str, or not str, len. And then let's print out index, and then partial. So yeah, let's run these. Yeah, right there. So 11 for 11. So that's what we predicted it would be. So there we go. All right, so I believe that's all we did last time. So let's go into new stuff now. All right, so let me get rid of all this. Or actually, I'll just comment them out. All right, so we'll start off over here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the math class. So math. And so what the math class is it's just a class from Java, same thing as string. String is also a class with different functions, just like we talked about string length, str.length, or dot index of, or dot substring. Same thing for math, but math is something different. So there are a few functions that we're going to go over. So math. So the first one is math dot max. There's math dot min. There's math dot sqrt, or square root. I don't know why I'm adding spaces. Yeah, and then there's math.pow, or power. And then there is math.absolute value, or ABS, math.absolute value. And then there's math.random. So these are the ones we're going to go over today. So let's start off with dot max, math.max. So let's create a new variable. So let's create int max is equal to math.max 10, 8, 8. So what math.max does is that, so it takes two parameters first of all. So over here, our two parameters that I've made is 10 and 8. And so it's in the name, so it just finds the maximum value. So in this case, it will print out, it will be equal to 10, because out of the two numbers that I put over here, 10 is the greatest. And it doesn't matter like what order it is. I could have put 8 over here as well. So 8 and then 10, or it doesn't matter. It just finds the maximum value. So this will be equal to 10. So if we print this out, system.out.println, this is the maximum number, or just say the higher number, or the bigger number. And then max. So let's see what this prints out. Right there. This is the bigger number, 10. And it could be any number. You know, I could make this 238. And same thing, it will print out 238 because it's the bigger number. Yeah. All right, so let's go on to math.min. Same thing, except it's the opposite. So it finds the minimum. So just create a new variable called int min. Actually, just copy this real quick and make this min. Math.min. And let's use the same values. Sure. So in this case, so this one prints 238, right? The max. So min will print 10 because it's smaller. Yeah. And then let's do the same thing. Print statement. Min. This is the smaller number. So we print this. It should print out. This is the smaller number, 10. So let's check that out. Right there. This is the bigger number, 238. This is the smaller number, 10. Pretty easy. So let's move on to math.square root, or math.square, or whatever you want to call it, math.sqrt. So let's create a new variable. Int num is equal to 25. Yeah, and then system int square root is equal to math.sqrt of num. So then let's just print that out. from that out, line. This is the square root. Square. Yeah, so this will print out is 5 because the square root of 25 is 5. So yeah, it's very simple. So we print that out. What is this? In square root is in math. Oh yeah, it's supposed to be a double divide. So make that a double. I believe it should work. Yeah. So yeah, it will print out 5.0. So the reason it doesn't work is that's just how math.square root is, because if it's like, suppose it was not 25, if it was like 30, then, or sorry, 30, right? Then it would be a decimal number. So essentially that's why math.square root only requires the isn't double or in a decimal number. But there is a way to make it an integer, and we'll talk about that later on in like 10 minutes. Yeah, but for now, keep it as a double. So yeah, let's make this 25 again. So it prints out 5.0. All right, and again, you can change the number. So actually, let me just make it 30, and let me show you. So if I run that, then it will give out this number, 5.47. So that's the square root of 30. All right, so let's move on to math.pow or math.power. So let's use the same variable int num right here, which is 30. So let's make it, so let's create a new variable int power is equal to math.pow of num. And then we print that out. This is the power. And then power. Oh yeah, and also comma 2. So what this does, it finds the power, right? So it takes num and it basically does num to the power of 2 or num squared. And I can make this number anything. I can make it 4, which will be 30 to the power 4. But let's just make it 2. So yeah, so what that should print out is 900, because 30 squared is 900. So yeah, let's show you that real quick. Wait, where to go? Oh, okay, sorry. Java C. Oh yeah, again, it has to be double. So right there, 900. So don't forget to make these doubles unless you cast, which is something we'll talk about again, as I said before. So yeah, 900, and again, it could be any number. So let's make it 3, a small number. Compile it, and then run. Yeah, this is the power 9. So it just finds the power. And now math.absolute value. So let's create a new integer now. So let's create int num3 or num2 is equal to negative 45. So again, absolute value, it just finds the distance of a number from 0, right? So an absolute value can never be negative. So in this case, if I find the absolute value, if I do math.abs of num2, then what it will print out is 45 instead of negative 45. And same thing, if I make num2 45, it will still print out 45 because it's 45 numbers away from 0. So let's just keep it negative, and then int ab absolute value is equal to math.abs of num2. Oops, yeah. System.out.println. This is the absolute value. Yeah, so what this should print out again, as I said, 45, because it finds the distance from 0. So if I run that, then right here, this is the absolute value, 45. And same thing as I mentioned before, if I make it positive, then same thing, it will still be 45 because it's still 45 digits away from 0. So there, 45. So yeah. All right, so now math.random. All right, so what math.random does is that it finds, it just prints out random numbers, and you can specify a range. So let me show you. So let's create double random is equal to math.random times 6. So what this does, so this times 6, what it does is that it basically just finds a random number. It assigns random, the variable name random, to random double or decimal numbers between 0 and 6. So if I print out random, so system.out.println, this is a random number plus random. Yeah, so if I print this out, it should print out any number between 0 and 6, and it's going to be a double, so a decimal number. So if I run this, then let's see. Right here, see, it prints out 4.355 in that long number. And if I run it again, then it's a different number this time. See how it's 0.32? I can run this many times and it'll be different numbers every time. 4.37, 4.46, 3.49, 0.68. So you guys get the point. So now what I want to introduce you guys is something called casting. So what casting does is it essentially enables you to change the data type of a certain variable. So in this case, okay, so let's do something. So let's try to create a dice, right? A dice generator. So a dice only has numbers from 1 to 6, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Those are the possible options. And yeah, so we don't want like a dice doesn't have numbers such as like whatever the numbers were it was giving out, right? It doesn't have 0.45 on it. It only has 1 through 6. So in order to create that integer number, what we want to do is cast. So let me show you what casting is. So, and we want to cast it to an integer because that's what we want. That's the data type we want. We want an integer. So that's casting. It's all you have to do. Just put parentheses and then an int. Or if I wanted to cast it to like a different one, like long and long. But in this case, int. You don't really need to know what long is. Yeah. So int. So if we print this out, oh yeah, and also change this to int because you're casting it to an int. So I run this. Oh, whoops. I can compile it. Compile and then run. There we go. This is a random number 4. Same thing. Run it again. 3, 2, 0, 2, 0, 0. So you guys are probably noticing one thing. A dice doesn't have the number 0, right? Obviously, it only has 1 through 6. So to fix that, what we do is we just add 1. So it finds random numbers from 0 to 6, and it just adds 1. What? Oh, whoops. Plus 1. So if it's a 0, then it will add 1. So then it will be 1. So there's no possibility of there being 0. So if I print that out.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What if you get a 6? Won't it still add 1 so you'll get a 7?
It actually won't. So I've tested this before. So I think it's like a fixed value, I believe. So let me show you. So it will only print from 0 to 6. So even though it's adding 1, it's not gonna add 1 from like the fixed range. So yeah. So let me show you real quick. So Java C and Java C3, 5, 2, 2, 2, 2, again, 1, 4. Yeah, so just random numbers between 0 and between 1 and 6. And that's what we wanted for dice, right? So yeah, that's random. Or math.random. And casting as well. So keep in mind casting. Let me review that real quick. So again, you just put parentheses in front of what you want to cast, and then you put int or whatever data type you want to cast it to. So in this case, we casted it to an integer because we wanted an integer value. So yeah. Right. So the next thing I want to talk about is the random class. So we're already on the topic of random, right? Math.random. So I want to introduce a new idea, a new way of how to create random numbers. So, and that's through the random class. So again, there's a math class and there's a string class, right? So now there's a new class dedicated specifically to random. So in order to access this class, we actually have to import the class from the Java API or from the Java, yeah, from Java. So in order to do that, we do import java.util.random, random, yeah. And so basically what this does is that it enables you to access all the random functions, all the functions from the random class. And let me show you how to use it real quick. And let me comment this out real quick, just to make it a little clearer. Then random class. Right. So what we do first is that we create a new random object. So over here we created the class name is random. So let me show you how to declare or to create a new object from a class. So we do random, rand is equal to new random. So what this does is that it creates a new random object, and so I call the object rand. So it's very similar to like assigning and declaring a variable. So there's like the type. In this case, it's the class name, which is random, as we imported it at the very top, and it's called random. So we do random, and then rand is the name of my object, is equal to new random, and this is just like a proper syntax when you create new objects. And so now what you can do in order to, so now there are two functions that enable us to find random numbers. And so these two functions are, I'll write it down over here. They are .next int and .next double. Yeah. So let's take this. So let's say int random is equal to rand dot next double, and let's just say 6. Yeah, so what this does is that it will print out random. It's like the same thing as math.random. It prints out random numbers between 0 and 6. So if I run this, or actually let me print it out. System.out.println random numbers. Then no, and then random. Oh wait, not next double, my bad. Next int. Yeah, because it's an integer. So int random is equal to rand.next int, and then inside is the parameter, which is like the fixed range, the fixed end range, or the end value. So from 0 to 6. So we print that out, random, and let's just call it random int, yeah. So we print this out, then Java C, right there, random numbers 2, and then again 1, 1, 5, 5, 4, just random numbers. So that's another way, and that's using a random dot next int. So that's a function from the random class, which is part of Java. So now let's use a random double. So let's create a new variable called double random double is equal to rand dot next double. So for next double, it's like the same idea, but it's different. So it's different when it comes to parameters. So over here, the parameter was the end value, right? Or 6, or the range, the end range. But in next double, it already has a fixed range, and you can't really change it. So if I put like a number over here, let's say 9, right? Then it'll give out an error because there's no parameters that are needed for next double. Instead of what it does is that it prints out random decimal numbers between 0 and 1. So yeah, so there's nothing needed inside the next double parentheses because it already prints out. There's already like fixed values that are assigned to it. So it'll print out any number long decimal between 0 and 1. So if I print that out, say integer right here, and then random decimal numbers, and then random double. So if I run that, then right there, random decimal number 0.89. Run it again, 0.61, 0.21, 0.76, all these random numbers. And as I mentioned before, if you add anything in the parameters, it will print out an error. It will give out an error. So let me show you. So if I add 6, just like I did for next int, it should print out an error. So let me compile. Yeah, right there. See, it says required no arguments. So yeah, so it's basically just saying no parameters are needed. So yeah, keep that in mind. Yeah, let's get rid of this. All right. So now what I want to talk about is the AND and OR operators. So let me show you. What the? Oh. Oops. Okay. So so the AND operator looks like that, and the OR operator looks like that. Oops, like that. So AND is just two ANDs, ampersands next to each other, and then the OR is just parallel lines. So right there, and and let me show you this in comparison, well, with like Boolean variables. So let me show you what I mean. And OR operators, it's simple English, right? It's just something and something else, or something or something else. So let me show you. So let me create two Boolean variables. Boolean val is equal to let's just say true. Then Boolean other val, or just say val1, val2 is equal to true. We'll assign both of them to true. And so if I do system.out.println val and where's that? And val2, that should print out true. And let me show you why. So this will be a little bit confusing, but it's pretty easy if you memorize the thing that I'm about to tell you. So it's actually the truth table. So I'm not sure if you guys have heard of it, but let me show you what the truth table is. So there are different truth tables for and or. So let me show you for and first. So true and true is equal to true. True and false is equal to false. False and true is equal to false. False and false is equal to false. All right, so let me explain this. So think about it. So true and true. So there are two Boolean variables on both sides of the and, right? So if one thing is true and something else is true, then overall it will be true, correct? So let's take this one, true and false is equal to false. So the reason it's false is because in order for a statement or condition to be true, both and if it's like an and operator, then both things have to be true. So if one thing is true, but the other thing is false, then it's not false. Then it's not true overall. So true and false is not true, but it's false because there's a false. It's kind of confusing, but that's just how it is. So just what I did is like I just memorized the truth table. So this thing right here, and you get the hang of it pretty soon. But if you think about it logically, as I was talking about, if something is true but something else is false, and both of them are needed to be true in order for the condition to be true, then it will be false because there's a false statement. And the same thing for this one because there's a false statement, and same thing for this. So basically, let me break this down a little bit. So if there is an and statement, if there's an and operator, so these double ampersands, and there's a false, then it will always be false unless both of them are true. So in this case, both of them are true, right? So it's true. Here, both of them are, sorry, over here there's a false. So it'll be false. Same thing for this, false, false. And then same thing for, if both of them are false, then obviously it will be false. So yeah, so back to our example right here. So Boolean val is equal to true, Boolean val2 is true. So again, based on what I said, if there's a false, it will be false. So there's no false, right? So it will print out true. So let me show you. Just compile it again. Yeah, and right there, see, it prints out true. And all right, let me get rid of this real quick. Let me comment that out. All right, so now if I change the value of, let's change the val2, so let's make it false now. So again, what this is, it's saying true and false. And if we look at our truth table that I created up here, true and false is false. Why? Again, same thing, because there's a false. If there's a false, again, I'm gonna repeat this a few times, but if there's a false and there's an AND operator, then it will be false. So this will print out false. So if I run that, it will print out false right there. And same thing, let me just, one more example. If I make both of them false, then it will obviously be false, because false and false is false. If one thing is false, the other thing is false, overall it will be false. So again, it will print out false. I run it, false. All right, so let's go on to OR operators. So again, let me create the truth table for OR. I mentioned in the beginning that there are separate truth tables for AND and OR. So let's see, true or true is true. True or false is true. False or true is true. False or false is false. So the thing, what I do to like remember this is it's essentially the complete opposite of the AND operator. So if there's a true in any of the statements, when there's an OR operator, then it will be true. If one thing is true, so think about it like this. So true or false is equal to what? So if one thing is true and there's an OR statement, then it will be true overall. Since both of the statements are not required to be, since both of these statements are not required to be true in order for the condition to be true. So yeah, the easy way to like remember is like for AND, if it's false, if there's a false, it will be false overall. For true, if there is a true statement on either side, then it will be true overall. So you can see that pattern right here. See, true or false is true, false or true is true, false and false is false. So yeah, let's use the same two variables. So if I do system dot, actually let's copy paste, change this to OR. So what this is false or false. According to your truth table and according to what I just said, if there's a true, then it will be true. But in this case, both of them are false. So it will be false overall. So if I run this, it will print out false. Right there, false at the very bottom. And again, let's play around with the values. So let's make it true. So now there's a true statement. So if it's so let's start off with the end actually. So it's true and false now, right? There's still a false, so it will be false. It will remain false. For the OR, there's a true, so it will be true. So if I run this, it should print out, what is it? False and true. Yeah. Yeah, false and true right here. So yeah. So those are truth tables. So these two, and again, this will be in my GitHub. I'll put it on GitHub right after today's class. So over there, if you guys want to access the truth table or look at it, then it'll be on that GitHub. And it's in that homework link on the shelter in place document. So yeah. So now on to the next topic. I want to talk about relational operators. So there are how many? There's 6 relational operators. So let me comment this. Relational operators. Yeah, so these are pretty simple. There's greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, and then equal to, and then not equal to. Is that 6? Yeah, 6. And yeah, so let's go over all 6 of these right now. So let's create 2 integer values. So int num is equal to 12. Int num2 is equal to 20. Then if we do system.out.println, num is greater than num2. Yeah. So again, what this will output is a Boolean variable, a Boolean variable. So it'll print out either true or false. So let's look at this. So num is what? What is num? 12, and num2 is 20. So what this statement is saying is 12 is greater than 20, which is false. So it will print out false. So if I run that, oh whoops, let me compile it, and then run it. There, false at the very bottom. And if I swap them, so if I do num2 and num1, that will be 20 is greater than 12, which is true. So 12, which is true. So that will print out true. So compile it, then run. True. It'll print out true. And same thing for the less than. So if I make it less than, then it will say 20 is less than 12, which is false. So it will print out false. So it's pretty, yeah, right there, false. So yeah, so pretty easy, pretty simple stuff. And yeah, and you can make these again any number. So if I make this 32, then this will be saying 20 is greater than 32. Or no, sorry, 20 is less than 32, which is true. So it should print out true. True, the very bottom. And let me comment these out again. There we go. All right. And let's see. Let's use greater than or equal to. Let's look at that. So this is essentially saying num2, which is 20, is greater than or equal to 32. So the thing about greater than or equal to is it checks 2 things. First, it checks whether the so in this case, let me use this example. So it checks whether num2 is greater than num. So is 20 greater than 32? No. And then it checks whether num2, which is 20, is equal to 32, which is not true. So overall, it will be it's false, since it's not greater than or equal to num. Yeah, since num2 is not greater than or equal to num. So this will print out false. So if I run that, false right there. Now let's change up the values. So let's make num20 as well. So let's go over the same process. So it checks whether num2 is greater than num. Num2 is greater than num. So is 20 greater than num? Is 20 greater than 20? No, they're equal. So, and that's exactly what it checks next. Is num2 equal to num1? Yes. So it will print out true, because num2 is greater than or equal to num, since 20 is equal to 20. So if I compile, run, true, since they're equal. And same thing for less than. If I make it less than or equal, it will also print true, since it checks whether num2 is less than num. So it checks whether 20 is less than 20, which is false because they're equal. Then it checks whether they both are equal, and they are equal. So it'll be true, since 20 is less than or equal to 20. So again, if I run it, then it'll print out true right there. And again, let's change up the values. Let's make it 30. Let's make, or yeah, sure, 300. So let's make, all right, so what this is saying is 300 less than or equal to 20. So let's see, is 300 less than 20? No. Is 300 equal to 20? No. So it's false overall, so it'll be false. So if we compile that, false. So pretty easy. So now let's move on to equal to. So a few things I want to talk about equal. So yeah, so in Java, equal to is 2 equal signs. It's not one. If you're the only time you use one equal sign is when you're assigning a variable. So if you notice over here, wait, oh yeah, right here. So there's one equal sign. So one equal sign is only used when you're assigning a variable to a certain value. However, if you're comparing like two numbers, you have to use 2 equal signs. Or if you're checking if something is equal to something else. So let's see. So in this case, we're gonna check whether num and num2 are equal, right? So it has to be 2 equal signs. And it will simply check whether num2 and num are equal. So they're not, so it will print out false. So if we run that, there, false. And if we use one equal sign, let me show you, it'll print out an error because one equal sign is only used for assigning variables, as I mentioned before. So if I compile it, oh wait, did I save it? 20. Oh, so what it did is that it assigned the variable into it assigned the variable in the print statement. So remember what we mentioned before. So like reassigning variables. So essentially what it did is that it reassigned num2 to num. So instead of making keeping num2 as 300, it made it num. So it works, but it's not what we want, right? So yeah, so we'll talk about if statements today as well. So if you are using equals to in if statements, then it'll print out an error. But I guess in this case, it reassigned inside the print statement. So I mean, it's wrong either way. We don't want that. We want a Boolean variable, a true or false. Yeah, so equal is pretty simple. It just checks if two variables are equal. So if both of them are 300, it will print out true since they're equal. So now let's look at not equal to. So let's say num is not equal to num2. So again, same thing. The exclamation operator, same thing for Boolean variables. It's not, or the opposite. So this is basically, in English terms, it's not equal to. So this is checking whether num is not equal to num2. So in that case, it's true because num and num2 are not equal. So one is 20, one is 300. So this should print out true. So I compile it, then run, then it'll be true. And if I make them equal, so let's say if I make them 300, if I make both of them 300, then it will print out false since 300 is, since they both are equal. And we're basically saying if 300 is not equal to 300, which is false. So if I run that, compile and run, false, right there. Yeah. So those are relational operators, pretty simple. So I guess the only thing to keep in mind is the equal sign. It's 2 equals. That's when I first learned Java. That's the one thing I always forgot, and I always got this error because I didn't add 2 equal signs. So don't forget that. Don't forget to add 2 equal signs when comparing two things. But don't add 2 equal signs for when you're assigning variables. Only one's needed. If you add 2 in that situation, then it will print out an error. So yeah. So now let's talk about if statements, as I mentioned before. So if statements. Let me write down the proper formatting. So if, so there's the if, right? It's very simple English. Let me show you. So if, and then inside the parentheses will be a condition. Then curly braces, just like we do over here for the main method. And then inside of the if statement, again, you can put anything. So it's basically if something, then do that. And if that something is true, then do it. So for example, if the condition that's inside the parentheses is true, then it will go inside of the if statement and do whatever is inside the if statement. If it's false, then it will skip over it. So let me show you what I mean. So let's use num and num2. So if num is equal to num2, then it turns out num1 or num and num2 are equal. So in this case, num and num2 are both indeed equal. So it will go inside the if statement and it will print it out. So if I run that, and let me just comment this print statement out. All right, so if I run that, then it will print out the string num and num2 are equal. But let's take a different situation. Let's see if we change it. Let's make it 30. So let's read over this again. So if num and is equal to num2, so if 30 is equal to 300, which is false, then print this out. So since this is false, since num and num2 are not equal, it will not print out this statement. So if I run this, it will just it won't print anything out. It will just print a space, I believe. So if I compile and run, see, it doesn't print anything. It just moves on to the next line. So this is where I will introduce else, the else statement. So let me show you the formatting. So else system.out.print num and num2 are not. All right. So again, as I mentioned before, it's very simple English. So num and num2. If num and is equal to num2, which is false, then go in here and then print out num and num2 are equal. And since it's false, since the if statement is false, it's not going to print out num and num2 are equal, but it will instead go into the else. So if num and num2 is equal to, if num and num2 are equal, then print this out. Else or otherwise, print num and num2 are not equal. So since they are not equal, it will print out num and num2 are not equal. So let me show you. So if I compile it and run, it will print out num and num2 are not equal. And let me again change the value. So let's make them, let's again make it 300. Both of them 300. So in this case, again, it will print out num and num2 are equal because the if statement is true. So if I run that, oops. So if I run that, it will print out num and num2 are equal. So yeah. And another thing I want to talk about is else if. So the thing about else if is, let me show you to you in an example. Okay. Let's create another int. So num3 is equal to the, wait, actually no. Let's just keep 2 and let's make this 150. And so now let's just create another if statement, and we're going to use relational operators. We're going to use greater than and less than. If num is greater than num2, then system.out.println num is greater than num2. Else, if num2 is greater than num, and print, oops, and print system.out.println num2 is greater than num. Else, system.out.println num and num2 are both equal. All right, so let's let me comment this out. Hold on. All right, so let's look at this. So int num is 300 and num2 is 150, right? So let's look at this if statement. Let's talk through it. So if num is greater than num2, so let's check. Is num greater than num2? 300 and 150. Yeah, 300 is greater than 150. So it will print this out. And what it will do is that it will stop there. Why? Because if this was false, then it would have moved on to the next statement, which is an else if. And if the else if was false, then it would have gone to the else statement. But in this case, the first if statement was true, so it simply just stops there. So what this will do is that it will print num is greater than num2, and that's it. It won't also print num2 is greater than num. It will just print. It will just stop after the first if statement. So let me print this out, and then I'll show you a different example. The one num is greater than num2, and so if I make them, let's make them equal again. 300, 300. Num2 and num are 300. Let's walk through this again. So first, if num is greater than num2, is that true? Is 300 greater than 300? No, they're not. It's 300 is not greater than 300. So it doesn't go in this if statement. So it moves on to the else if. So else if num2 is greater than num, is 300 greater than 300? Again, no. So it's gonna disregard the statement, right? Then it will go to the else, and it will print out num and num2 are both equal, since there are no other options. Either one is greater than the other, or they're both are equal, right? So in this case, it'll print out num and num2 are both equal. So if I compile and run, num and num2 are both equal. And same thing, if I make num2 500, is num greater than num2? No, 300 is not greater than 500. So it goes to the else, so it disregards this first if statement and then moves to the else if. So now it checks the condition again. Is num2 greater than num? Yeah, it is. 500 is greater than 300. So this is true. So this else if statement is true. So it prints out num2 is greater than num. So we run that. And yeah, num2 is greater than num. And yeah, that's if statements, and that's the proper formatting. And yeah, that's what you do. So it's if parentheses condition curly brace and then whatever whatever happens after if the condition is true. So in this case, I decided to print out a certain string if the statement was true. And all right, so now one more thing I want to talk about, last topic before class is over, is I want to show you guys how to check whether a number is odd or even using relational operators and also if statements. So let's create an int variable int new num is equal to 33. So let's create an if statement. If new num mod 2 is equal to 0, system.out.println new num is even, else this just copy it, else new num is odd. So let me talk about this real quick. All right, so prior to actually going through the if statement, so we already know that new num is odd, right? Because 33 is odd. We already know that from knowledge, or yeah, from our knowledge. So essentially what to do if you want to check whether a number is even or odd, you have to use this if statement. If new num mod 2, again mod is finding the remainder. So in this case it finds 30, it does 32 divided by 2 and finds the remainder. and if the remainder is 0, is equal to, double equals to 0, then it will be even. So that's kind of just like a property of every if statement. Of every even number. So for example, let's take 6. So every even number, and if you do an even number mod 2, it will always equal to 0. So that's a property we use to find whether a number is even or odd. So in this case, if you do 33 mod 2, it's not going to be 0 since it's not even. So then this if statement is false. So then it goes to the else statement and prints out unum is odd, since there's only one other option. If it's not even, then it has to be odd, right? So let's print this out. All right, let's run it. Actually, let me just comment that out to make it clear. All right, so let's run that. Java, there. Unum is odd. And yeah, and same thing. If I change the number to 36, which is an even function, rerun it, compile it. Unum is even. So yeah, that's what you do. Yeah. So that's the last topic I wanted to talk about today. So before I end the class, is there any question? Are there any questions that you guys have? Again, you can unmute yourself.
Do you mind going up to the part where it says like the random?
Oh yeah, of course. Which one? Math.random or
No,
what
like
was it?
random ran or something.
Oh
Yeah,
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 right
yeah,
here.
yeah, right there.
All right, so you want me
Um,
to explain it again?
no, I just need to look at it. Okay, yeah, I get it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Again, it will be in the GitHub link, so you can just look there, and I'll put it afterwards, after class is over. So yeah. Okay. Any other questions? All good. Okay. So again, a reminder. So over here, you click on the homework doc. Then I've added a homework for this week. So if you go to class 3, there's homework right here. So that's this week's homework. And again, in the GitHub link, which is at the top of the doc, right here, there's a solution to class 3. It's already in the GitHub link. You can look at it if you want, but I would prefer, again, just doing it yourself first and then looking at the solution, just to see if you know how to do it. But if you're having trouble, then of course you could just you could look at the GitHub link and look at the homework solution. So yeah, but that's all for today. So you guys are free to leave, and if you have any questions, then of course you can email me. So yeah, thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, bye guys.
Is today's code gonna be in the GitHub?
Yeah, it will be in the GitHub. I'll post it like right
Okay.
after. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, of course.